Patti Smith's Horses turns 50, the rock icon who redefined music. Patti Smith never envisioned herself as the front woman of a rock band. Back in 1971, when music producer Sandy Pearlman approached her with the idea of making music, she chuckled and insisted she was perfectly happy working in a bookstore. Pearlman had witnessed her captivating performances of poetry at St. Mark's Church in New York's Bowery, where she shared the stage with guitarist Lenny Kaye. That night, the audience included luminaries like Lou Reed, Andy Warhol, Todd Rundgren, and playwright Sam Shepard, all of whom could sense the spark of a future rock star in Smith. However, it took her 4 long years to embrace that identity, and in 1975, her groundbreaking debut album, Horses, was finally unleashed upon the world. This November marks the 50th anniversary of Horses, a milestone that will be celebrated with a tribute concert at Carnegie Hall featuring artists like Michael Stipe, Kim Gordon, and Karen O. Later in the autumn, Smith herself will take the stage for a series of concerts where she will perform the album in its entirety. Horses, which has earned a spot in the National Recording Registry of the U.S. Library of Congress for its cultural significance, was not just a powerful debut, it ignited the New York punk rock scene, arriving 5 months before the Ramones' self-titled debut and 2 years ahead of iconic albums like Richard Hell's Blank Generation and the Sex Pistols' Never Mind the Bollocks. In her 2019 book, Revenge of the She-Punks, music journalist Vivian Goldman describes Smith as a trailblazer, a new breed of autonomous, self-defined female rock star. At the time, Smith didn't dwell much on her gender in a male-dominated industry, at least not until she faced hecklers shouting, "Get back to the kitchen," during her performances. In the sleeve notes for Horses, she boldly declared herself beyond gender, later explaining that as an artist she could adopt any voice she desired. Today, she is often hailed as the godmother of punk or punk's poet laureate, yet the narratives surrounding the scene still tend to be male-centric. However, it would be unfair to attribute this oversight solely to misogyny. While Smith undoubtedly paved the way for future generations of musicians, her sound was uniquely her own, perhaps best described as punk-adjacent. Horses was infused with raw passion and a disregard for technical perfection, yet it transcended the typical rebelliousness of punk. Instead, it created a bridge between punk rock and poetry, with Smith's vocals oscillating between singing and spoken word. She openly celebrated literary giants like Baudelaire, Rimbaud, Blake, Genet, and Plath, and as she noted in her memoir Just Kids, poetry was her guiding principle in music. For her, Horses represented 3-chord rock merged with the power of word. Before Horses, Smith dipped her toes into recording with a cover of Jimi Hendrix's Hey Joe in 1974, reimagining the story of a man on the run after killing his wife by replacing him with the kidnapped heiress Patty Hearst. While the cover was decent, it was the B-side, Piss Factory, that hinted at the brilliance to come. This raw, incantatory track, which began as a poem, recounted her experiences working in a New Jersey factory at the age of 16, where she faced relentless bullying for her love of poetry. When she refused to leave her copy of Rimbaud's Illuminations at home, her colleagues retaliated in a shocking act of cruelty. The lyrics on Horses would prove equally visceral, starting with the electrifying opener, Gloria, in Excelsis Dio, a reimagining of the B-side that incorporated lines from Smith's poem Oath and kicked off with the unforgettable refrain, Jesus died for somebody's sins, but not mine. This was more than a rejection of religion, it encapsulated Smith's essence, hypnotic, primal, and uncompromising. The album also explored themes of female suicide in the reggae-inflected Redondo Beach, alien encounters in Birdland, and a dream featuring Jim Morrison of The Doors in a Promethean struggle in Break It Up. In Free Money, the most straightforward rock anthem on the album, she dreams of winning the lottery and escaping poverty to buy her loved one a jet plane. Horses was recorded at Electric Lady Studios, just a stone's throw from Smith's New York apartment. The album featured a stellar lineup of musicians, including Kaye, Tom Verlaine from Television, and drummer J.D. Doherty. Together, they crafted a spiky garage rock sound that would become synonymous with the late 1970s punk scene, honed through live performances at the legendary CBGB. Producer John Cale of the Velvet Underground encouraged improvisation and embraced the band's rough edges, leading to a tumultuous 5-week recording process filled with clashes between him and Smith, which she later likened to a season in hell. The album cover, shot by Robert Mapplethorpe, reinforced Smith's beyond gender ethos. In the striking black and white image, she appears androgynous, dressed in a white shirt and slacks, with a jacket casually draped over her shoulder. When her label suggested airbrushing her upper lip hair, it was as if they were asking her to conform to traditional femininity. Smith firmly rejected the idea, insisting it remain untouched. When Horses was released on November 10, significantly, the death date of her beloved Rambo, Smith had already established herself as a poet and music journalist, earning a living writing for magazines like Cream and Rolling Stone. In her early years in New York with Mapplethorpe, they had lived in poverty, often struggling to afford food. But by the time of her album's release, she was more financially stable. She imagined that after this musical venture, she would return to writing and perhaps even back to her bookstore job. As she later reflected, rock and roll was just a temporary detour for her. What she didn't anticipate was the overwhelming acclaim that followed the album's release, leading to requests for performances worldwide and demands for more music. While some critics, like Grail Marcus, dismissed her work as mere homage to the avant-garde, Smith continued to thrive. In the 5 years following Horses, she released 3 more albums, including the commercially successful Easter in 1978, which featured the iconic single Because the Night, co-written with Bruce Springsteen. Despite accusations of selling out, Smith remained unapologetic, stating, "I liked hearing myself on the radio. To me, those people didn't understand punk at all. Punk rock is just another word for freedom." As the late 1970s unfolded, Smith stepped back from the spotlight after meeting her husband, Fred "Sonic" Smith of the Detroit band MC5, and becoming pregnant with their first child. For the next 15 years, she focused on raising their 2 children, with only the 1988 album Dream of Life emerging during that time. However, tragedy struck in 1989 when her soulmate Mapplethorpe passed away from an AIDS-related illness, followed by the deaths of her husband and brother within a month of each other. As the sole provider, Smith had no choice but to return to her artistic roots. Now at 78, Smith has outlived most of her contemporaries from the New York scene, with the exception of Kay, who still performs alongside her, and Cale, with whom she has reconciled. Her work transcends genres and mediums, and in the past 15 years, she has excelled as a memoirist. Her award-winning book Just Kids, chronicling her relationship with Mapplethorpe, is a masterpiece that captures the essence of youthful love and the gritty vibrancy of late 20th century New York. Her subsequent memoirs, M-Train and Year of the Monkey, showcase her as a perpetual creator, writing, photographing, performing, and honoring the artists who came before her. It's no wonder she has received the prestigious Ordre des Arts et des Lettres from France for her poetry and a place in America's Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for her musical contributions. The impact of Smith on generations of artists is immeasurable. Influential figures like The Clash, Sonic Youth, Madonna, Courtney Love, and PJ Harvey have all acknowledged her influence. Michael Stipe remarked that hearing Horses tore my limbs off and put them back in a whole new order. Today, her concerts draw a diverse crowd, with old punks and young fans alike coming together to celebrate the accidental icon and rock's most remarkable Renaissance woman. Don't miss People Have the Power, a celebration of Patti Smith, at Carnegie Hall on March 26, and catch Smith performing Horses in full at the London Palladium on October the 12th and 13th. Tickets are available now.